Okay, guys, I am super excited to welcome back to the show. We've got Aaron with us. How are you, sir?
Man, living the dream. Above ground, breathing fresh air. I cannot complain.
That's all that matters, man. How have you been, brother?
Man, I've been good. Just honestly been out in the woods a lot. I really there for a while. I stopped going out a lot because I was working a lot. And now I'm having more opportunities to be able to get out in the woods, really be able to go out and hike more like I used to. So the past, few weeks, I've been going out every day into the woods and deep into the woods too, not just on the regular trails, but off the trails and all that. And definitely
Awesome.
been having some encounters.
Oh, I love that. That was but for the guests that might not have listened to our first one, if they didn't, they're crazy. They need to go back and
Yeah.
listen to it. But if they didn't, can you just tell us what part of the US you're in right now?
So I stay in Midwest area in Central Illinois, and for anybody that's around, a lot of people know that Midwest is corn, 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 and more field corn. Like that's all it is, and soybeans. But there's a lot of places around here where it's very wooded. I mean, very wooded, very dense forest and natural growth too. Not even, it's one of those things that it surprises a shit ton of people whenever they see it for the first time because they're so used to corn everywhere. And I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a shit ton of corn where I live, like a lot, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of woods too, and I try my best to get out there as much as I can. And I try to encourage the people around me to do it as well. So, yeah, I stay
Awesome.
in Central Illinois.
I was going to ask you if you've had any experiences since we last spoke, but obviously you have.
Oh, yeah.
So let's get into it, man.
Yeah.
What's been going on?
Well, one thing that happened literally yesterday, right,
Oh, wow.
is I was out in the woods and I was, on a trail and everything. I was like, you know what? I'm just feeling a little frisky, right? So I start whistling, just doing single whistles, and all of a sudden I hear what I think I heard was another whistle call back to me, right? And I'm like, okay, maybe that was the bird, right? And I whistle again, and I whistle three times in a row, right? And I hear three whistles back. Okay. Then I start clicking because a lot of people don't know this, but clicking is another form of communication that people have heard from Sasquatch, where it's almost like a clicking of the tongue, like that. Well, I did it after I heard the three whistles. I did three clicks back, just like that. And what I heard next is I heard three rock clacks. So click, 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 just like that. And it paused for a second, and another click, click, click. So I'm like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. You know what I mean? So then after that, I end up basically kind of just doing a scan around, looking around. Like, okay, shit, maybe I'm gonna see something right now. Well, didn't see anything besides one thing whenever I was getting ready to leave. I I remember hearing from, I want to say, I don't want to give the credit to the wrong person, but still amazing guy, Tim Coonbo Baker. If y'all haven't heard of him, go check him out, please. Tim Coonbo Baker is an amazing guy, amazing person, lovely Bigfoot researcher, knows his shit. Well, I remember him saying that a lot of people, and I'm very positive it was him. It might not be him, but I'm positive it was. He said something like a lot of people miss Sasquatch encounters because they just don't simply look around. And he said, if you ever on a trail and you feel like something's watching you, turn and look. Just turn around and look in the middle of the trail. Just go from walking, 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 stop, turn. Just look. And you might see something. Well, I always do that. Ever since I heard that, I'll always do that just in case. Well, I'm sitting there and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to turn. So I'm going to act like I'm walking away. And right at the last second, I'm going to click three times. I'm going to turn. So I click three times. I turn around and look. And it looked like, and I don't know for sure, but it looked like to me that in the distance, it looked like a small head, like just a black, like head and shoulders go back behind a tree.
Ooh.
Yeah. And at that point, I got this weird feeling where it was like not like you need to leave now or something bad's gonna happen, but it's like okay, it's time for you to go type deal. So
You felt that. You felt that.
mm-hmm.
Man.
And like I told you before, I always have my handguns with me.
Yeah.
So I was sitting there like, I'm glad these were with me today, just in case, but it didn't feel like threatening or anything. It just felt like kind of like, okay, like you done good. You can go ahead and head on out. We're done. And then today I had similar experiences where so here, I'm gonna see. I got one on my phone, possibly.
Is this today?
Yep. And because I love taking videos. Fun fact too, if you want anybody that's out there listening, and you as well, Tommy, you can take a look on my TikTok. I post a lot of videos of me out in the woods hiking now. And I kind of found that to be like somewhat therapeutic in a sense. And I've been finding a lot of joy behind editing these videos. But let me see if I can find this one. Oh, let's see here. Here we go. So let's see if you can hear this. Should be coming up. Let me see. That might not be the one. We're gonna figure it out though.
So was this today that this was filmed?
Yeah. Yeah, this is today.
I need to add you on TikTok, man.
Oh yeah. On TikTok it's just the Mysterious Outdoors podcast. Or actually no, it's Mysterious Outdoors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have I got you on TikTok? I'm not sure.
Let me see.
I don't know. I'm not on TikTok as much as the other ones, to be honest. I'm trying to get a little bit better with TikTok. I need to start because I know TikTok's getting pretty big, man.
Oh, it's huge right now. And that's one of the reasons, like, a lot of my videos, they don't do like super good per se, but like in a day, I got 246 views on one, 255 on another, 861 on one, 809 on another. So it's like,
let's
and that's
go.
me posting like every once in a while on there.
Yeah.
But I do a lot of videos that are just kind of like very cinematic. I can't find that noise, but I'll tell you what, whenever I do, I'll send it to you.
Yeah,
and
man.
Feel free to post it in the video if you want.
Thank you, man. What was you hearing? Sorry, I can just hear myself echoing. Sorry, man.
Let me see. Can you still hear it?
Hello? No, it's gone. It's gone.
Okay,
yep.
Perfect.
Yeah.
But more or less, I was on the trail and I was filming this video for somebody because I was like, hey, look, I'm out in the woods. It's beautiful right now. And she was like, let me see. So started filming it and whatnot. And I'm filming. And in the middle of filming it, I hear it click, like really loud from down in the valley. And I'm like, I hope I got this on camera. And sure enough, I was playing it back through and I did end up getting it on camera. And you're sitting there and you can hear all the birds chirping and all of a sudden you hear click really loud. So
yeah. Interesting, man.
But
because we
down there. Oh, you go ahead.
No, sorry, man. I was gonna say before last time you was on the show, you walk on this path quite often and you feel something's following you.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So do you think these things they're following you where you're going today as well in places like that?
I think so. If I'll tell you what, there were sure sometimes where I thought I heard something pacing me, but I didn't know for sure though. Like I remember hearing what sounded like somebody, I don't want to say that it was like a following me per se, but it definitely sounded like somebody was, like watching from a distance, or you hear a couple of footsteps type deal, like about 30, 50 yards into the wood line. And honestly, I'm starting to wonder if they don't recognize me now because I'm out there so often anymore that, I wonder if eventually they're going to get comfortable enough for me to start doing more shit to me, like throw rocks and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you one thing that was weird, and obviously, like anybody that's from Illinois or anywhere nearby, or even anybody that goes out in the woods a lot, around this time of year, you usually hear acorns dropping down and shit. Well, acorns can drop down, but whenever you see one come out of the woods, like out and not just down, some threw that, and it wasn't a damn squirrel that threw it. So I had that happen a few times previously in the past couple of days, and you'll just be walking along, and all of a sudden you'll have one. You'll see it out of the corner of your eye come out of the wood line and come towards you and land across, and you just kind of be like, all right, probably just a youngin out there throwing some shit at me, seeing how sneakily they can be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and honestly, I think that's one thing that happens with those, juveniles is the fact that they'll almost have like missions per se, where it's kind of like, okay, how close can we get and how much shit can we stir up without being seen? You know, kind of like okay, well, I see Tom and he's walking in the woods, and okay, acorn at his ass. So you throw the acorn, and then right after that, they drop down or they sit still or they go behind a tree. And then, obviously you're looking around like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
And you don't see anything. So it's almost like that game of like, okay, we're getting better. But I mean, how else would you train? You know what I mean? Especially for being something so elusive. It would have to start at a young age. You couldn't just sit there and be 7 foot tall and then trying to figure out how do I disguise or how do I stay hidden? That's not going to work out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you hear a lot of Bigfoot researchers say that a lot of the times when these things are seen, that they do seem to be like the juvenile ones, the ones that are not fully forest wise, we'll say.
Yeah.
and they're making little mistakes, and that's how they're seen.
And sometimes I honestly think it's sometimes just accidents. Or because I've heard from other people before previously where they'll sit there and they'll talk about how it's almost like whenever they do get seen, it's like a oh shit look on their face.
Yeah.
Like a and then like they'll just run off.
Yeah. Yeah, because
like
most encounters seem to be between 3 and 5 seconds. Like they're very quick. Most like what you saw yesterday. You've seen something peep around the side of the tree, go back. Very quick. Yeah.
And that's the thing is that it's like I truly feel like some people really it's luck. You know what I mean? It's really just almost damn near luck.
Yeah.
Now some people, they might be out there all day, really looking hard and everything, and then they end up seeing something. But how much of that is skill on our part, or unluckiness on their part and luckiness on ours for seeing them? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they might just be sitting there taking a stroll, look over, be like, oh shit, and then just haul ass into the wood line and then drop down on all fours and just watch us. And we're sitting there like, what the fuck was that? What was that? And then you're trying to take your phone camera out. Oh yeah, no.
Yeah, it's not happening. Yeah.
But
man,
I'll tell you another thing that's been happening too is it's not in the woods, but it's here in my house again. So, obviously, my house is fairly haunted. And recently, I've been like almost getting the vibes of something becoming more prevalent in my house. And I don't know what it is exactly. It doesn't feel bad, but it just feels like, I'll walk into my room and I just feel like there's somebody there. Whenever it used to be like oh, there might be. But now it's more of like oh shit, somebody's in there, And I'll tell you another thing that's been happening too is the lights have been going on and off lately. And just out of nowhere. Like I'll just be sitting there and chilling out, or they'll turn on their own. That's another thing that's been happening where light switch will be thrown and all that. And it could be like 1 a.m, right? All the lights are off, and I'll be sitting there on my couch just watching TV and shit. The next thing you know, I'll hear a click, and I'll look over and the hallway lights on.
Oh
And in
man.
my head, I'm sitting there thinking, like, first off, what the hell do you need the light on for? I don't think that your vision is going to be skewed at this point in your, eternal existence. I think you
Yeah.
probably could see in the dark, asshole. I just think you're trying to play with me now. But
So you think that's like an attempt? They're trying to get your attention, whatever it is.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's almost like a, residual type thing where it's like a, shit, I'm so used to walking through, flick the light switch on whenever I walk through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But who knows? Like honestly, and that's the beautiful thing about our, field of study is that we don't know. We're speculating. 90% of the time we're speculating shit. And we're taking the evidence that we have at hand, using it and being like, okay, we know this is happening. Why is this happening? We don't know. So let's ask them. And then you start asking questions, and sometimes you get your answers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whether that's through EVP recording, or it's through a ghost box, or it's through, light communication. Or you're like, hey, okay, if there's somebody in here, oh shit. Now I'm sitting here wondering if I ask this question, if my light's gonna turn on or off.
That
But
would be amazing if that happens.
I'll tell you what, look, I mean, if somebody is in here, turn that light off.
Man.
Okay, I think we're good. But
If that went off, I would have screamed.
oh, you would have heard me run through the wall like Scooby Doo and Shaggy. Like, come on now. Look, you just heard boom.
But that's the thing, though. Even like me and you, we both had experiences, but it's never not scary.
Yeah,
it's always.
I think now, like you said, it's never not scary. It's just more of like it's less.
Yeah.
It's like
you get more of an understanding, and if you've experienced it before, it's still freaky, it's still scary, but
oh yeah,
you sort of because you've been there before.
Exactly, and that's the thing. And I mean, honestly, you could say the same thing about any really, like weird or uncomfortable experience in life. I mean, I'll tell you right now, I've had moments where, like, very life-threatening moments where the first couple times, like, shit, I almost died. But then, like, after a while, you'll have something happen. You'll be like, whew, didn't give me that time. But after a while, it still shocks you. Like, I still see the one that's taking a shit on my toilet in the basement every once in a while, where he'll be sitting there on the newspaper. I'll look over and be like, what the hell are you doing? So
that's the spirit in your house that you see on the toilet.
Yeah, I'll literally be walking by and you'll see it just out of the corner of your eye, and it literally just looks like there's somebody sitting in there with a newspaper, just sitting on the toilet.
It's mad, man.
Yeah, like, and I can't tell you how many times I've seen that. And recently, I was talking to my therapist, and I got my previous therapy records back from whenever I was a kid, right? And one thing that was really interesting to me, right? One thing that's very interesting to me, and I didn't even remember this until I read the reports. It said that Aaron is afraid to go into his basement alone. And I was sitting there thinking about it, and it's like, I wonder why. Because, like, I mean, my basement's not like creepy per se. Don't get me wrong, it's a little eerie. Like, you go down in there, like, it's a finished basement and whatnot. But it's almost like even back then, I could kind of tell there's something present in the rooms.
Yeah.
So.
And is that where you see this guy on the toilet? Is that the same area?
Down there in the basement. Then I've seen a lot of stuff down there.
Yeah.
That's where, like, a lot of the lights turn off. That's where, like, I've heard noises like, I'll tell you one thing. There's one time where I was on the phone with my little brother, right? He's a close friend of mine, but he's basically my little brother. I've known him for 10 years now, but I was on the phone with him, and I always used to tell him, like, listen, my house is haunted as shit. He's like, no, it's not. I don't believe in ghosts and shit like that. And sure enough, one day we're sitting there on the phone, and all of a sudden you just hear boom, 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 boom on the back door, right? And he's like, what the fuck was that? And I'm like, I told you. What did I tell you, bro? I told you that shit's real. And he's like you're not bullshitting me? And I'm like, no, look. And I even, like let him hear it. And I put my hands up like this so he could tell I wasn't doing anything. And sure enough, all you hear boom, 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 boom on the back door. And that's that same door. Did I tell you about the last time that I talked to you about I cleared the house with the guns because I saw that person, or I heard somebody coming through the garage door?
Was that the spirit that was standing over your mum? Was it that
Oh
spirit?
no. So this was actually whenever. So I don't know if I told you this, but I'll retell it. Basically, at the time, I was in my house with my ex-fiance, my good friend, and his girlfriend at the time, right? And we're sitting there, and I hear the garage door open, and not like the garage door to the outside, but the one that leads into the house, right? And I hear it open up. And if you've lived in a house long enough, you can tell whenever a noise is familiar, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay, well, that's somebody walking up the stairs. Oh, they just hit the top of the stairs. You know those noises. Well, I'm sitting there and I hear what sounds like somebody just walking in through my basement door. And I'm like, yeah, hey, Ma, hey, Dad. No answer. And I'm like, Ma, Dad, y'all need help with the groceries or something? No answer, right? And I tell my buddy, John, I'm like, hey, John, look out the window and see if my parents' car is there. He looks out the window, no cars there at all, just ours. So at this point, I'm sitting there thinking somebody's in my house, not even a ghost. I'm thinking somebody is in my house, right? So I, being me, we load up. So I
Yeah.
sit there.
Wrong house, man. Wrong
hand.
house to pick.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
Look, we're gonna figure out what the hell is in here. So I put my pistol on my hip. I grab my rifle, and I start coming through the house, right? And I tell John, I'm like, you come behind me, you stay exactly fucking behind me. Do not try to stray off on your own. Just come follow straight down behind me. And I look at, the girls, and I'm like, listen, y'all stay up here. Don't move. If something comes up here, you yell, and we'll be up here in a few seconds. So I'm sitting there coming down the stairs. I start pieing corners and whatnot, looking around, and we get to the basement, right? So first off, in my basement, whenever you're coming down the stairs, you look to your right whenever you hit that like bottom landing, and that's where the garage door is. So I look at the garage door, I open it up, turn left, right, nothing in there. I go down to left, and I start walking through, look left, look right, and the door in the back, that one that bangs all the time, it was opened up, right? So I look at John, I'm like, hold this gun. And I give him the gun. He's sitting there holding it like right at the door, watching it. And I'm like, if somebody comes through, you pop him. I turn over, I go to my safe, unlock the safe, I pull out the shotgun, put 5 slugs in there, right? I hand him the shotgun. I tell him, I said, you point this shit at the fucking ground, okay? And unless somebody attacks me, you don't lift that son of a bitch. So I take my rifle back and I start walking over there to the door. I'm looking in, and I finally get to the door, swing it open. I look left, right, and I look right, and I got the flashlight on it too. And I see somebody duck down behind the boxes in the back in there. And immediately I'm like, fuck. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because at that point, it got real. Then, all the training and all the things that I've been through in my life previous to that, right? All these things are telling you, okay, you might have to kill somebody right now. You might have to sit there and dispatch this person. So you're telling yourself, like, okay, breathe in, 4 breaths in, 4 breaths out. And you're sitting there, and you're walking up, and you're telling them commands. You're like, listen, I have a gun pointed right at you. Please step out from behind there. Don't make this hard. If you don't step out from behind there, I will shoot you. And I'm slowly coming up. And last second, I turn around the box, nothing there at all. Nothing at all.
Wow. And you
Yeah.
saw someone duck.
Oh yeah, yeah. I saw a head and shoulders duck down behind that box.
Whoa. What did they have facial features, or was it like a
Mm-mm.
shadow figure sort of thing?
It, it it was almost like a. I mean, I don't want to say it was a shadow figure, but at the same time, I don't know what else it could have been. I mean, it could have been a spirit that just didn't have the energy to produce a face and shit.
Yeah.
But who knows? All I know is I saw what looked like a shadow of just head and shoulders ducked down behind the box. But at the same time, too, it's like a lot of shadow people that you see, they're not really like fearful of anything. You know what I mean? It's more of like a, oh shit, guess you're
Yeah.
looking at me, huh? And then they just disappear. They walk through a wall. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's
And,
interesting, man.
and this seemed like, because I turned with that gun and immediately it ducked down. So it was almost like, oh shit. And I don't know, but I'll tell you what, it definitely it spooked me a little bit. I'll tell you that. And
Yeah, for sure, man.
yeah, I just went back upstairs and like nothing there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
I mean, it's so interesting with shadow figure. I think there's different types. I
oh yeah,
think it's not always the same thing. But when you say like when you said oh crap, it's seen me, you know, that's something you hear quite a lot. And I think when I've experienced seeing shadow figures, waking up, seeing them there, then they disappear. It is
yeah.
like they're watching. When you see them, you know, it's like, oh crap, and they're gone. It is
And
like
that's the
that.
thing. That's the weird thing though, because it's like, almost like, because usually, like you just said, it's there and then it just like, oh shit, and then disappears. This is like a very humanistic response to it, where
Yeah,
it's like a, oh shit, and then you duck down. Because I figure something that's from a different universe or even a different dimension or something like that, if it sees me there with a gun, it's just gonna disappear, like you said. You know what I mean? But it's not gonna sit there and, because I mean, I saw this. I saw shoulders come up and then duck down, which like
yeah,
that's a very human response,
yeah,
which is what makes me think that it would have just been a spirit of a person per se. But I don't know. All I know is whoever it was scared the shit out of me, and I definitely was like, and even then, because I've had moments previous where I've had to, draw my weapon on people before, and in those moments, the training kicks in so hard that it's like you're not even really like fearful of what's going to happen. You're just sitting there and you're in training mode where everything's clicking. You're like, okay, okay, we're watching his pockets. Does he have anything in his pockets? You're looking at his chest. You don't want to sit there and just watch his eyes, because if you watch his eyes, you're going to miss what his arms are doing below,
yeah,
right? So you're watching waistband, all that, and you're coming up and you're like, hey, stop, don't, no. And it's like that, right? With this, it's different because once, all that adrenaline is just there, and then you turn the corner, there's nothing there at all. That adrenaline has nothing else to do, because the threat's gone. You know what I mean? With a
yeah,
person, you're sitting there, you're still assessing the threat. You're still like, okay, you know, we got to figure out what's going on. How is it? How are we going to handle this situation? Who are we going to call? What are we going to do? Is he still a threat right now or not? You have to figure all that out. But whenever there's just nothing there anymore,
yeah,
that
man.
shit, that adrenaline just dunk, where it's like, oh shit.
Yeah,
Ah! It's like it's a very, you know,
yeah, man. It's
nerve
crazy.
wracking experience.
Can
But
I ask you? This is not paranormal, and you haven't got to answer this if you don't want to. Can you tell me when you've been in a position where you've had to pull a gun on someone? Can we go
so
into that? I'm just curious, man. And
yeah,
you don't have to answer that.
there's been a few times where, like, let me put it this way. There's been one time where a guy I assume he was high as hell on something other than weed, or he was drunk as shit, one of the two. But he rolls up on a bike to my house, right? And he starts knocking on the boom, 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 boom. So, and anytime somebody knocks on my door like that, immediately, first off, I'm pissed as shit. Just don't be knocking on my door like that. There's no need for that shit. Second off, what's your business doing that in the first place? What do you want? So I walk up because anytime that I answer the door, I always have something with me, whether it's a knife, a bat, a gun, I don't care. Because I've seen the bad sides of this world. So I walk up there and I have the gun kind of behind my back, right? And I open the door. I'm like, can I help you? And he just, hey, I come in there and use your phone, right?
Oh man.
And I'm like, we don't got one. That's a damn lie because we got a landline, but
Don't blame
but
you, man.
yeah, and I'm sitting there and he's like, I just need to make a phone call, okay? Just let me use the phone. And I'm like, nah, bro. I'm like, I think it's best if you just go ahead and get on out of here. And he goes, I'm gonna use the phone, and he grabs the door handle on the screen door and tries to pull it open, right? So I grab it back and I yank it closed. And immediately I just do this, with the gun in my hand like that. And I'm like, stop. Stop now before we have an issue. You need to back the fuck off, get away, get on your bike, and leave.
Yeah.
And his drunk ass or high ass, I don't know what it was. He's like, all right. And then just like turns around and just walks off, and it's like,
Wow.
but you're sitting there and you're watching him the whole time because you don't know if he's gonna turn around out of his waistband and pull something out and just start shooting at you or throw a rock at you or a brick or something like that. You don't know. So I'm sitting
Yeah.
there watching him the whole time, still holding onto the door and having the pistol up like that. And I'm just waiting for something to happen. And eventually he gets on his bike and he just it just drives down the
Wow.
street. So
Man.
it's like, but I train constantly. I train with, mag releases. I train with, dry firing, just going from holster to out, pine corners coming through, making sure that, I'm staying vigilant in both of my peripherals as I'm aiming down the sights, you know, constantly training like that.
Yeah.
And once you get into those moments, all that training just kicks in immediately. And especially, because I have a martial arts background and everything. I started martial arts around the time I was 3, and I stopped participating in them whenever I was around 18. So it goes hand in hand a lot, because once that muscle memory is there from such a young age of constantly having to remember, okay, if somebody throws, let's say somebody throws a right hook, we got to come up and immediately block and then knock, counter. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just that such a quick motion of, okay, boom, come through. Or if somebody tries to swing, you duck under, boom, boom. So it's the same with a gun. And a lot of people don't realize this, but whenever you're shooting, it's the same position. So, like, if I'm here, right, and somebody's about to punch me, I have my hands up just like this. And then what do I do whenever I throw a punch? I extend out, right? Okay. If I have a gun, all I got to do is twist, boom, extend out here. It's the same thing. You're punching out. So,
Yeah. So
same
basically, no
premise.
one should try and break into your house, man, because you've got martial arts and you've got guns. So that is a
Hey,
warning to
look,
anyone.
all I'm saying is if anybody wants to try, we're definitely ready.
Yeah, for
But,
sure, man. I mean, I
and
always find dudes like that crazy that have tried to knock it. I mean, some people have got guns in the UK, but obviously not as many as in the US.
oh, yeah.
And every house that you're trying to break in the US, you're going to get shot, man.
And that's the thing is, it's like, look, even right next to me, look, right,
It's ready.
you know,
He's got one now.
you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like, but that's the thing is, you never know. I mean, I've had so many things happen over the years of my life where it's like, I'd rather be 100% prepared at all times than need something and not have it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, I can't tell you how many times. So, as a black man, especially, and being in a very rural area, of the country, I run into a lot of shit. You know what I mean? Where it's problematic for me. You know, like, you know what a sundown town is?
No, what's that?
So basically, a sundown town, it's a very old practice and belief, but a sundown town is where after, after sundown, blacks better be out of the town, more or less. And it's one of those things that it's not like, not everybody does that shit. So like, I don't want anybody out there to think that like this is something you're gonna run into in every rural town. This is not. I know a lot of people that are very, very kind people in the rural communities, and I do a lot of business with them. But the thing is there are some people in those towns that still follow after those guidelines, those rules, right? And there's a town near me that I used to do knife sales in, because I don't know if I've ever talked to you about that before, but I used to sell knives a lot. And I was making very good money doing that. Well, there's this place up there, and it's a truck stop with a knife shop in it. Well, I would go up there and I'd deal, trade, buy, and sell knives and do all that, right? Well, I'm up there one night, and it's probably like 7 or 8 o'clock by the time I'm heading out. It's about this time of the year, maybe a little later, probably closer to October time, so that it gets dark as shit by 8, right? Well, I'm sitting there and I'm leaving the rest stop and everything, truck stop, and I noticed behind me that there's somebody tailing me like hard, like very fast, like up on my bumper. And I'm like, oh shit, what's this guy's problem? And sure enough, we start bumping because I'm like, fuck this, I'm gonna go a little faster. So I'm getting away from it. I'm going 80 miles an hour, right? And he's still on my ass. And at this time, I'm like maybe 17, okay? And I'm hauling ass. He's right behind me. We get to the county line. He sits there and he stops, does a U-turn, and starts going back to town. You know what I mean? So it's like, and back then, obviously, I couldn't have a gun. I'll tell you what, now, everywhere I go.
Yeah, and it's still like that now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's a wild, and see, that's the thing, right? Like, one thing I always tell people, and I truly mean this, I've experienced a lot of hate in my life. I've had a lot of racist things happen to me. But the one thing that I can always tell people is, people are so quick to judge. And obviously, I'm not defending racist people at all, right? But whenever you give somebody a opportunity to explain themselves to you, you really find out a lot about that person, right? I know people personally that I have changed their hearts because I didn't come at them with rage or anxiety or frustration or anger or anything like that. I came at them with respect and love. You know what I mean? And I was like, why don't you like me? What's your problem with me? And usually they'll sit there and be like, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, what's your problem with me? Why you got an issue with somebody that looks like me? And they'll be like, well, I've never really been asked that question. And it's like, well, I'm asking you now. And usually it ends up having a conversation where it's like, listen, what do you like to do? Well, I like to, be outside. I love, listening to music, being with my family, fishing, hunting, just being with my friends and family. I like doing all that shit. The only difference between me and you is I look different. What's the difference there? And then you sit there and you're like, holy shit, like, man, maybe there isn't really a difference between us. And then they start thinking about it, and then it really opens their hearts. You know what I mean? But that's the reality of that shit. You could sit there and say, I could be mad at the world. Look, my dad said it best one time, and I'll never forget this quote that he said to me. He said, I used to be mad at the world until I realized the world didn't give a fuck. Once you have that mentality, nothing can bother you.
That's a great quote. Really. Yeah.
Like, nothing can bother you, because you think, how many times do you have people sit there and cut you off in traffic or flip you off or say fuck you or disrespect you in some way, right?
And that's just the wife.
Hey, but
Sorry,
look, the
man.
love is there. Look, the love is there.
Yeah, it's so true you're saying that, man. Like,
And that's the reality of that. You know, it's that you could sit there and have all those things happen to you. Like I've had, like I said, I've had a lot of things happen to me in life, and even people discrediting my my experiences with the paranormal. Well, what's that going to do for me to get mad about that? Especially with as much hate that I've seen in my life and experienced, for me to sit there and throw that shit and cast it back onto somebody else is absolutely ludicrous to me. Why would you breed more hate with the hate that you have? Like it
yeah,
is not
man.
even worth it.
Yeah,
I'd rather sit there and ask that person, why do you feel this way? Because a
yeah,
lot of people just want to be heard.
yeah,
They just want to have their feelings validated. And then once you do it, they're like, well, wait a minute, maybe I am stupid about thinking that. So,
yeah, man.
but yeah, that shit
Massive respect
definitely.
to you, man, because you are such a top guy. I know you pretty well now.
I appreciate that.
You're a lovely man. Very positive. So for you to experience that sort of stuff and still be how you are, full credit to you, man, and your family.
Hey,
That's awesome.
listen, that really means a lot. Like honestly, truly, brother, it means a lot. And I mean, one thing I can always tell people is, look, I said a quote the other day, and I had to write it down to make sure because it's one of those things you say, and you're like, oh fuck, I can't forget this one, otherwise people are gonna think somebody else did it.
Yeah,
But
you gotta put it out on Twitter or X or whatever.
exactly
You
right.
know, I got it there first. Yeah,
We gotta stamp this shit. I said, life is a beautiful tragedy. It's so lovely when you take a step back and look at the whole picture.
yeah, man.
Like, and that's one of the truest things I've ever said. Because if you think about it, right, look at all the hardships, all the pain that we go through every day. Even, with the paranormal, how many people you think see a ghost that never wanted to see a ghost? How many people
Yeah,
you think see a UFO or, Bigfoot or anything like that they never wanted to see? You know what I'm saying? And it's like they see those things and it's hard. It's painful. And then hearing the ridicule from all these people around them and whatnot that say, "Oh, I love you" or "I care about you," and then, you hear that bullshit feedback where it's like, "Oh, you didn't see that. Were you smoking or drinking? What were you doing? Okay, yeah, sure, you saw." Like, and that's pain. That's tragedy right there. But then you got to look at the flip side of that, right? How lucky am I to have seen those things? How lucky am I to have had my eyes open to the beauty of the unknown? Because the unknown is so beautiful. That's why
yeah,
that's
man.
why we sit there and we chase the dream of, oh well, maybe I might be a millionaire, or maybe, what if the girl does like me? Or, that's why we chase those things. It's because it's the unknown. We're naturally curious, creatures. The unknown is a very beautiful space, but at the same time, it comes with a lot of tragedy. And I think that's what I meant whenever I did say that, is
Yeah,
that life is a beautiful tragedy. And
yeah,
once you
man.
step back and look at the whole picture, it's really beautiful.
That's beautiful words, man, for sure. And I hope you put it out there on the social media so it's down as yours. Well, you done it
Not yet,
first,
not yet.
but
I'm
you need
probably
to
gonna
do
get
it,
on the
man.
next
You need to do
TikTok.
it. Yeah, get it out there, man. Because once it's there, the date stamp's there. No one else can take it. No, it's
Hey,
cool.
look, I'm
It's a
telling you.
cool. Because and it's right what you're saying about when some people don't want to have these experiences. Me
Yeah,
and you, we're very open to it. A lot of the people that I talk to are very open to it, but there are some people that don't want to see a ghost. They don't want to see UFOs. They don't even want to
yeah,
think about it. So you're right. There's a lot of pain that comes with paranormal as well, for sure.
yeah. Well, and that's the thing is, it's like, how many people have you talked to where they get almost emotional talking
Yeah,
about it, where it's such a hard thing to relive, and once you really like sit back and you're like, holy shit, thank goodness that I have the outlook on this as that I do. You know what I mean? Because like you can sit there and look at it and be like, oh, saw a ghost again. But I look at it as like, I mean, look what I told you last time we talked about the will o wisps that I saw.
yeah,
You know what I mean? It was so beautiful, even if it was something bad, right? Like it was so beautiful that it's almost like I wanted to see it again so badly. You know, even whenever I saw the UFO, it was so beautiful. But there's some people out there that would look at it and be like, "Oh shit, they're real." You know what I mean? And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, they are. They are.
Yeah.
But it's your perspective that matters. Because look,
Yeah.
I can say, because we don't know the truth. We don't know what the hell it is. I don't know. You know, I don't know if a UFO is aliens or if it's us doing it or what it is. I don't know. But that's the beautiful side of it, is the fact that it's, like I said, it's the unknown. It's the, well, what if? You know,
Yeah.
I love that question. What if? Like
Yeah,
that's,
man.
it's such a beautiful thing to hear and to really be able to truly experience firsthand. So
Because the possibilities are endless with the unknown. It could
yeah,
be anything. And that's what I love about it as well. The paranormal, we're constantly learning. You think you know something, and then there's another 10 questions, and you don't know anything. So that,
exactly, right. And it's, and that's the crazy thing about what we do, you know, what we love that much, is that you never know. You
yeah,
never truly know. And maybe someday in our lifetime we'll get the answers we've been looking for. You know, whether it's us to find it or whether it's somebody else that we never heard of that found it, you know? Who
yeah,
knows?
yeah.
Like, but that's an amazing thing. Because look, I would love to be the man that discovers what Bigfoot really is. Don't get me wrong, that would be a lifetime achievement. But if it's not me, right, and it's somebody else, I'm gonna be thoroughly thankful and grateful for that person to have found the truth, right? And I'm gonna give praise to that person, whoever it is, because even though it wasn't me, and even though it it still might not even be the answer we wanted to hear, right? We got the answer to our question. We still got the answer.
Yeah.
That's what matters.
What do you think it's going to take to 100% prove Sasquatch? What do you think would? Because I
I
mean, you could get we've already had the Patterson Gimlin film, and we've got loads of great footage, which for me is legit.
yeah.
But a lot of people won't have any of that, you know. So what do you think it's
Well,
going to take? Because even if you get the most perfect, clear video of a Sasquatch coming up to you and shaking your hand, there's going to be the naysayers. There's going to be a lot of
oh
people
yeah.
that are going to
Well,
accept it still.
that's like, I love this classic horror movie. Have you ever seen the movie The Howling?
No, I haven't.
Okay, if you get the chance to
I'm gonna
watch that,
I'm gonna write that down.
it's such a great film. Well, at the end of the movie, it kind of has that same, I'd say, like that same message almost of, you know, you could sit there and see the most like crisp picture of something. You could get the evidence right in your face where it's touching you. And people will still sit there and be like, huh, it's fake. Look at this fake ass shit. You know, this is fake, man. Come on now. Look, it's CGI. You know what I mean? And that's the reality of it. I think that really, truly, honestly, I think that even if a body was shown, right? Like if I went out to the woods today and I did see something and I shot it dead, and I drug it out of the woods and I threw it in the back of my car and I drove it to the nearest, you know, university that I could. I feel like that even if that came out, unless it was like an actual university study from multiple scientists and whatnot that look at it and put the evidence out with DNA research, you know, autopsy, all filmed and everything like that. I don't think that you're gonna get the truth. I don't think that anybody's really gonna sit there and be like, oh well, maybe there is. No, I think it's really gonna take that body, as sad as that is, you know, because something like that deserves to live. You know what I mean? Which is why at the same time, even if we never get the truth, I'm gonna be still content. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Because I think that they have just as much of a right to live as we do. You know, especially as something as sentient as that would be. I mean, how many people have communicated with these things? You know, had traded with them. I mean, hell, the Native Americans even talk about, some tribes talk about how they would trade fur pelts with them. You know what I mean? So it's like they looked, and some Native American tribes even looked at them as another tribe, like as another group of people. So I think To Kill One, and another great book. If you ever read the Enoch?
Yes, I have. That is one of my favorite Sasquatch books. I love
Look,
that.
and that's the thing is, you remember whenever she talks about in there, where she brings up the topic of what if somebody does kill it? There's gonna be a few problems they're gonna run into. How are we gonna get it out of here? You know,
Yeah,
then what? What happens? Does it have rights? Is it a person? Is it a part human? Okay, well, if it does that mean it's murder? Like, there's so many variables that come with that. It would have to be something that would be government led, right? Or at least government backed, I should say.
yeah,
And where it's almost like okay, we're going to send a group of people out and they're going to track this shit and they're going to kill it and they're going to bring that body. That's the only way that I really think that it can be said and done, set in stone. Everybody's going to be like, happy. We finally figured out the mystery. And
yeah,
even then, honestly, deep down in my heart, I feel like I'd still be sad. I think I'd still feel for that, that being, because it's like they're just living, and it just had to be the sore loser in that, thing we call life, where it was the one that got chosen to die.
yeah, yeah,
That's a sad thought, but at the end of the day, you know, how much is our curiosity? How much more is our curiosity worth in its life? And that's
yeah.
a serious question that we must really think about whenever that topic comes up of bringing in the body.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
I sort of feel like, do we need to prove it? Because I mean, in a sense of protecting land, because I don't think I hate the thought of forests being cut down anytime. I really do. That's something that I hate, the thought of cutting down. I know it has to
yeah,
happen to a certain degree, but I'd like to keep the land as it is. Don't cut any more down. I
yeah,
know that's easier said, um, but me and you, we already believe you've had experiences, some amazing experiences, and there's loads of people out there that have had experiences and that believe. Do we need to prove it now? There's so many
and
of us that already know.
yeah, and that's the thing too. Is it's like, honestly, I can live the rest of my life and never know the full truth, because at the end of the day, I know what I believe. You know, I don't need to see something to believe in it. If you provide me with enough evidence, I'll believe, right? And whenever we talk about evidence, I love how, non-believers will sit there and try to mock people and be like, well, where's the evidence? There's a lot of evidence. You just need to open your eyes and look. You know, like, I remember whenever I asked Dr. Jeff Meldrum his opinion on it.
Oh wow,
Like,
you spoke to Jeff Meldrum.
yeah, I talked. So
Wow,
I
that's cool.
I always forget about that until I bring it up. But I spoke to him over email for a few days because I was doing a project for school. And basically, whenever I was doing this project, I decided to contact him and be like, listen, what's your opinion on the best explanation and the best evidence for the North American, ape? And the first thing he said was footprints. Because, as you know, Meldrum he's studied dermatoglyphics, which is a study of, dermal ridges. And there's a lot of footprints out there and foot casts that have dermal ridges that you can see in the cast. And you can't discredit that. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong, I have a big ass foot, right? I wear a size, 16 4E, which is basically, we're
Wow.
talking, what is that? About, 13 and a half inches by like 6 inches wide. So I got a big foot, right? And even mine doesn't compare to, like, hold on. I wonder if I have it in here. I do have it in here. I'll show you this real quick. Let me see. Oh, let's see here. So I have a cast of the famous, let me see here, Cripplefoot.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, wow.
So this, right, I want to say was 17 inches long. Okay. My foot is not this damn big, but it's close. But the thing is, though, is you can't, and even with this one, this is another perfect example of evidence that you just can't dispute because of the fact that it perfectly aligns. And they've even had, I want to say it was, foot doctors look at this and look at the anatomy of it
Yeah.
and see that, where the breaks would have been in this foot line up anatomically with a human foot. So it's like, you got the bones that have been broken in here and then the missing toe up here, right? There's so much shit on this footprint alone that you can't dispute.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's found in multiple tracks too with this and with the same footprint too. So
yeah,
that's just one of those things you can't sit there and look at and be like, well, maybe it wasn't. You know what I mean? And then you have this one right here. This is the one that Mr. Lauren Coleman found in my town, in Decatur.
Oh, wow.
Right? And I would take it off the wall, but it's drilled in there. But you can see, I mean, I got big hands and it's still like, it's a normal size, but I'd say like probably a size, 10 or so.
Yeah.
But you see this other appendage that comes out here. It's almost like, a thumb, damn near.
Yeah.
But even that one, you can't dispute that. And like I said, that was found literally probably not even, 2 or 3 miles away from where I am standing right now.
That's
right?
cool, man.
So it's like, and that was found in what? Like I want to say like 1964.
Yeah.
So you just
I wonder if that was injured Sasquatch or if that was just like a defect that they had in their foot or something. It's so interesting.
I don't know. I know the cripple foot definitely had to have been injured, or messed it up at some point in its life. But that one, I don't know. I mean, honestly, as there's different types that are out there at least, or we don't know for sure, but we've heard of different types. You got the ones that are more like a baboon, where they have kind of a snout. You have ones that are more like primitive human, and then you have some that are more like your classic patty. So who knows? That might be something that's more just on the lines of ape-like. So who knows?
Yeah, man. Interesting. So do you think that I know we it's sort of out there that there is, but do you think there is different types of these creatures?
I really think so. I mean, you look at some of the things that have happened that people have seen and whatnot. And I mean, even a perfect example is, you look up north in Canada and whatnot, where they got these ones up there that they see that are, 12 foot tall,
Yeah.
with sharp teeth. You know what I mean? It's like you can't dispute the fact that that's different, right? Than one you'd see in Florida, like a skunk ape, because a skunk ape is going to be about 6'5" to 7 foot at the max, right? And they're more aggressive, So who knows? Honestly, I mean, I think there's different types, but I don't know. I think it's one of those things that I hope we find out someday.
Yeah, man, for sure. What's your thoughts on like the Dogman and other cryptids?
I'll tell you right now. So I've never seen a Dogman, and I really hope I never do, because I feel like if I do, I'm definitely have to discharge my weapon.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you this though, another fun story time. Not my story though, but if you go on Sasquatch Chronicles, Wes's podcast,
Yeah.
there's an episode where he talks to a gentleman that actually killed one. Because everybody talks about, well, the Dogman can't be killed. The Dogman can't be killed. He killed one, and he gutted it. And one of one of the things that he discussed was whenever he was gutting it, he noticed that the breastplate was unbelievably thick compared to other animals that he's skinned and processed. So, I mean, you think about that, right? Maybe they just were built for, more abuse, right? The same way you look at grizzly bears. I mean, there's people that shoot grizzly bears in the heads with 12 gauge and they'll still keep charging. And it's because their head's so thick. You know what I mean? So that's why, like, I don't know, you ever heard about bear loads?
No, what's that?
So basically, a bear load is it's a really, really, really high, pressured round, right? So a perfect example, I'll just show you on this. So this is a standard 9 mil, right? With a standard 9 mil, you're looking about, I want to say, on like the fast end, like 1,200 feet per second, right? I might be a little off on my math. So any of you gun nuts out there, don't be getting on me too much, right? But you're talking pretty fast, right? Well, the bullet in this is so small that it's gonna basically hit the skull of a bear and just, you know what I mean? It's gonna just shred apart inside of the skin layer. Well, a lot of people they carry 10 millimeter, right? Which people think, oh, well, it's just 1 millimeter above 9 millimeter. It's big as shit. Like you got a 45 still isn't going to be as hard hitting as a 10 mil is. So a lot of people use those for bears. Well, you can get hotter rounds where they're going to be a lot faster and a lot harder shooting and hitting than your regular 10 mil would be. Same as shotgun rounds. You can get 10 mil or you can get shotgun rounds that are made for bears. It's the same thing. I just think that if you have the right, first off, anything that bleeds, I'm going to tell you as somebody that has definitely dispatched other animals previously, anything that bleeds can be killed. Truly. Anybody that has a brain can understand that one. Now, are there certain things that do have more of a supernatural side of it? Yeah, I'd argue that humans have a supernatural side of us. I mean, honestly, think about how many people that have never seen a ghost that go into a haunted house, they don't feel shit. They're just like, it's okay, where's the ghost at? And then you go in there and immediately you feel that presence, right?
Yeah.
You feel that presence. You feel those eyes. You can tell there's somebody not even just in the room, but in the corner of the room. You know what I mean? Some people just have that connection to the supernatural, but we can die. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that those things can die too. And obviously this guy proved it. He shot one, right? But he said the thing was though, is where he shot it at was, I think he said like above the collarbone, right? Because it was on all fours coming at him. And he raised his rifle, boom, shot it. And then he said that it was coming so fast that it hit the ground and slid like past him because all that weight and momentum. So he pulled out his pistol and fired more shots into it as it was sliding by. Which, first off, props on him because that shit is some John Wick type shit right there. I feel like I might be able to, just sit there, boom, okay, drop, fa. You know what I mean? But
mate, I'd crumble and run and pray, and that's it.
And that's the thing is that I think it's just like anything else. Whenever you're hunting anything else, you're killing something else. It's all shot placements.
Yeah.
So I think they're real as shit. To answer your question, I think they're very real. I think that we have a lot to learn about all these things, but I hope that I never run into one because, like I said, I'll definitely have to kill it if I do see one, and if it gets me, I'll tell you what, it's gonna be hurting by the time it gets done with me.
Yeah.
If I run out of ammo, I'm gonna start stabbing that son bitch. I'll tell you that, and get him in his eyes and shit. Right in his eyes.
I'm a big fan of Sasquatch Chronicles as well. I love that show. I've listened to it for years. I'm sure I've heard that episode. Was that a recent episode?
Yeah, it was a pretty recent episode. Let me see. Matter of fact, it was I want to say it was in the last 2 to 3 months, honestly.
Because I missed some, but I might have to go back and check that out because I can't remember. What did he do with the body after he gutted it?
So he cut it open and he put a rock inside of it, threw it into the water.
Okay.
And the reason he did that was because of the fact that the landowner wanted him to do that.
Okay.
So let me see,
And
because
it's
I know
a bit like what we were saying before. Like you haven't got to prove you know it yourself. You haven't got to prove it to anyone if you don't want
exactly. And that's the thing is, if I was in his position, right, I'd have done that. Like if I was told by the landowner, first off, if I'm on somebody else's land and they tell me to do something, guess what? You better do it out of respect for them. Now, would I have taken something off of it? Yeah, I probably taken a claw or some shit or a finger and preserved it. I'd have taken to my taxidermist and he'd have been like, "What the fuck is this?" And I'd have been like, "Don't ask questions, just make it." Just like preserve it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's the thing about that is that let me see. I'm trying to see if I can find this here. No, I can't find it. I'll end up sending that one to you too.
That's cool, man. That's cool, man.
But yeah, it's an excellent episode. And the thing is that this gentleman that shot it, right? He had this experience with these things for like 15 years before he finally ended up shooting this one. So, but I think they know. I think they can recognize people, and that's one of the things that he brings up in that. So, definitely to all your listeners out there, give that a listen.
Yeah, and then also, for sure.
Tommy, you gotta listen to that episode, man.
Yeah. It's a show that I've listened to from the start, like from the start of my big interest in especially in the Bigfoot side of things. It's a great show, obviously. I love it, man.
Well, and that's like even y'all got shit out in your neck of the woods because y'all got the woodwoses. And,
yeah, man.
You know,
I think these creatures are everywhere. I really do. Yeah. I mean, I've spoken to a lot of people that I trust in the UK that have had experiences with Dogman and Bigfoot type creatures.
Where did all the werewolf stuff start?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, but they seem to be everywhere. Like every culture has them. You know, every part of the world. That's what I find really interesting. Is it's in every culture, and it has been for thousands of years.
And that's honestly that should be more evidence than anything else. If you got cave paintings of Sasquatch, cave paintings, disprove that.
Yeah,
disprove that shit. Like you just can't. You really can't disprove that.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? You're gonna sit there and be like, "Oh, well, they just saw bears." They literally hunt bears.
Yeah.
You can't tell me a group of people that is constantly, before technology, before any of that shit, that is constantly out in the woods every day, foraging, hunting, trapping, doing all these things, right? Fur trading. You can't tell me that these people that have literally been part of the woods for hundreds of years, thousands of years, they don't know the difference between a bear and an upright walking hominid. You're crazy. You're crazy.
Yeah.
That'd be like if somebody told me, well, what if, if I saw a Sasquatch, what if it was a person in a suit? I'd be like, first off, if it was a person in a suit, I'd probably be throwing hands at his ass just for scaring the shit out of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Probably sit there, come up there and start hitting them with a 1-2 or something. Because it's like, but that's the thing is like, especially here and in the woods around me, there's hunters constantly. You know what I mean? Because if it's not turkey season, it's deer season. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you got constant, and a lot of the sightings in my area happen during fall time. Most of my sightings were during fall time. What's October 1st? The start of deer season. So if you want to sit there and go out into the woods and dress up as a scary, hairy monster, right? You're really risking your life.
Yeah, man. Here. Yeah.
If you don't get shot with a shotgun, you're getting shot with a bow.
Right? Yeah.
And honestly, if I'm being real, I'd probably take the shotgun over the bow. Like, really. Shotgun's gonna be quick. Bow, you're gonna be sitting there limping out of the wood, bleeding out and shit.
Yeah.
So and they're gonna be tracking your ass.
I read something recently. about when they were filming Star Wars in California somewhere,
Yeah.
and the guy that was playing Chewbacca, I don't know if he was going to the toilet or something in the forest, or they told him not to go into the forest to. I don't know where I got the toilet part from. I don't know. I don't know if that was a part of or not, but they told him not to walk into the forest because chances are someone's going to think you're a Bigfoot and try and
And
shoot you.
shoot you. Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing, because you got to think, right? Like, don't get me wrong. I don't think that somebody should just innately go out and try to shoot one of these things. I think that'd be a very bad idea, honestly, because what we know is that usually these things are pack animals. You know, they run in groups. So picture if, you know, like if you and I were hiking out in the woods and somebody shot you, right? I'm firing back. You just killed my boy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I couldn't imagine what that would be like to have a, you know, 700 to 1,000 pound animal that has a conscience and posable thumbs and knows what you just did coming at me. Hell no. You got me fucked up if you think that I'm going to ever sit there and put myself in that position. I'd rather kill myself in that position than experience whatever that thing's going to do to me. You know what I mean? The amount of sheer power. I mean, shit. I know what I can do to a person. I couldn't imagine what something 3, 4 times my size could do.
Yeah,
So
man.
fuck that. No, nope, not a zilch. You won't catch me doing that.
No, man.
Now if it was coming at me and I had to do it, yeah. But no. Other than that, fuck that. Let it be.
Last time we spoke, did you say that you were bluff charged?
Yeah, I've had
Yes.
so I've had things come up to the wood line fast as shit, just out of sight where you can't see anything, but you know something's there. And I don't remember if I told you about it or not whenever we talked, but I know I've definitely had it happen, and I know people that have had that happen to them. But that's actually I was going to bring up something else that I heard about recently from a coworker of mine. He talked about, and I'm trying to get in contact with his friend, right? Because, and I remember the last time we spoke about, you know, weird shit, we discussed the fact that there's a lot of times where you end up hearing like things that somebody else has heard about and had happened to them. And you're like, wait a minute, I had the same shit happen to me. Where do you have this happen at? Oh, the same place. And it's that weird thing, right? I heard a story from a coworker of mine that had a buddy that was out in the woods in one of the creeks nearby my area, right? And he said that he was walking through the woods and all of a sudden he started hearing his name get called. And he recognized the person calling his name, and it was his friend, right? So, but he's like, my friend's not out here in the woods with me. But he heard his friend calling his name. And sure enough, he looks down the way and he sees his friend standing there by the river being like, hey, come here. Come here. And he says that at that point he was like something was off. So he said, no, I'm not coming down there. And he said this thing turned into this weird creature and got onto all fours and started hauling ass after him, right? But before he saw any of this, get this is where it gets really crazy, okay? Before he saw any of this shit, I guess he passed by this house, this old cabin that was in the middle of the woods that was covered in blood or something like that. Like where it's just like dirty, decrepit, covered in blood that looked like it'd been there for years, you know, hundreds of years. The crazy thing is the creek and the creek area that he was talking about. I heard a story from a friend of a friend's dad about a cabin that he found in the 70s that was in the same area that was very decrepit, that looked like it'd been there for hundreds of years and nobody lived there in the same area, right? And it's like,
That's crazy, man.
you know, who know? I want to go try to find the cabin. I'll tell
Yeah.
you what, though, best believe I'm going down there armed and with more
Yeah,
than
for
one
sure,
person.
man. Yeah.
So look,
Wow.
I'm not trying to turn into no Hansel and Gretel situation.
Yeah,
You
man.
know, I'm a fat boy. That witch would have a good time trying to eat me. Look, she'd butter me up like a crisp turkey. No,
So your friend that saw this, his friend turn into what? Do you know what he turned into?
All I remember him telling me was that it looked like it had like a an animal skull for a head, and that it was on all fours chasing after him.
So he saw his friend there. He heard his friend calling him. Then he actually
Mm-hmm.
saw his friend, but he
Yeah,
just knew it wasn't his friend.
yeah,
Basically, oh man, so it's like a shapeshifter.
yeah. I don't know if it's a Wendigo or a Skinwalker or what it is, but it was something. But I mean, and who knows? I didn't hear the story from him personally, so I can't sit there and tell you if I believe the story or not. The only thing that was interesting to me and that really kind of like cemented the story in my mind at least is the fact that I recognized that area and the fact that I knew somebody that had seen that a cabin similar to that deep in the woods in the same area in the same side of the creek and river, right, in the 70s. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that's one of those coincidences that because I had never fucking told anybody that story. And
Yeah,
neither is this guy that told me about seeing that in the 70s, right? I and I'd never heard that before, right? And to have somebody else bring that up and then also say that he had this experience of this creature at the same time, that's such a weird coincidence, right?
yeah, man.
So, but that's not the only time I've had that shit happen either, where somebody brought up something that was really weird and wild, right? Did I talk to you about Peck Cemetery last time?
I'm not sure. I don't think so.
Okay,
Let's get
so
into it.
every time that I tell people about Peck Cemetery, that first off, they think I'm saying pet, but it's
That's
Peck.
what I thought at first as well.
Oh yeah, hell no. Hell no. No, no.
That's
We
what
got a
I
pet
thought.
cemetery in my town
Yeah.
that people
Okay.
bury their pets at, which still fuck that. That like I understand like people want their animal to lay at rest. We're not putting them in one big graveyard. No, man. Come on
Yes.
now. But um basically there's this place and it's Peck Cemetery, so it's PECK Cemetery, right? And it's very, very creepy. It's old as shit, right? And there were always rumors that I'm very positive that I've heard rumors before about a witch being buried there, for one. Okay. But one of the things that happened, the first time I ever heard a story about Peck Cemetery was from my dad, because my dad used to be a news photographer and they went there to do a news story on ritual sacrifices there. And they were going into the back lot of Peck Cemetery and digging up the children's bones and using those in the ritual sacrifices, right?
Jeez.
Yeah, some heinous shit. Well, my pops at the time, he was the chief photographer. So, he was in charge of getting all the cameras ready, making sure the battery belts are good, the camera lights are good, the cameras were functioning, all this shit. And my dad is very much like one of those people that's very thorough. If he's gonna look at some shit, he's gonna know, okay, either it's working or it's not. You know what I'm saying? So he's in a know. Well, he checked everything, and he said the moment they got there, they're walking through the front gate, and he said the moment they walked in, the camera lights started dimming, and the in the back portion of the cemetery is where the children's graves are and everything. He said that the farther he went back, the more the light dimmed down and dimmed down and dimmed down until they hit the back, and then it was completely out. And they got finished filming. They went back towards the front, and as they started walking back towards the front, it slowly started coming back on, back on, back on. Then they got outside the gate and it was back on fully, complete, just ready, like nothing happened.
Oh, man.
And that was my first time hearing about it, right? Then there's one night where I used to hang out with a lot of friends of mine, and we'd hang out up at one of the parking lots in town. And basically, we'd all sit there all night with trucks, cars, all that, just basically bullshit and, have fun, right? Well, we're sitting up there one night, and it's me, uh, and two of my good friends, right? I won't say their names just because I don't know if they want me to tell this story or not. But one of them told a story about how he visited with a friend, okay? And his friend lived down the river from Pet Cemetery, right? Well, he said that they were out there one night and he saw what looked like a woman standing underneath their light post in the front yard, right? And they're looking out the window at this thing, and eventually just disappears, right? So okay, that's a little fucking weird, you know. Well, later that night, he spent the night there. He's in the room, in the living room and whatnot, and he hears what sounds like somebody go into the bathroom and flick on the light. So he's like, oh, okay, you know, like, yes, somebody had to go to the bathroom. So he's waiting and he's like, you know what, I gotta go to the bathroom too. So he's like, okay, you know, waiting for them to come out, waiting longer. Nobody comes out, right? So he's like, what the fuck? Like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. So he walks up there and, you know, knocks and there's no answer. And he opens the door and there's nobody in there, right? After that, he said that he used the bathroom. He's like, okay, this is getting fucking weird. And he sits down on the couch and he said that there is a like a end table next to the couch. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he said it was as if somebody took their arm against the end table and just drug all the picture frames off of it, and like they smacked against the wall, right? And he said immediately at that point, he gets up, runs downstairs, and is like, "Hey, get the fuck up, get up, get up, get up! I got to like leave. Fuck this, I'm leaving." And he's telling his friend this, and his friend's like, "Just stay. Like, don't worry about it. Like, just stay. It's all good." He's like, no, fuck that. I'm leaving. And he's like, no, just my parents are asleep. You just gotta stay. So he ends up staying the rest of the night. Like, I did not sleep. But the thing is, though, right, is, and it was one of those weird moments like I told you about, where everybody starts to realize, like, holy shit, wait a minute, I had an experience there, right? That's whenever another buddy of mine is like, my dad used to live near the Pet Cemetery, and we'd always help him out with stuff. And he said that there is a time where his shit would go missing, right? And one of the only dumpsters in that area was over there by Pet Cemetery. So a lot of people would throw their shit in the dumpster. Well, he's sitting there and he lost his mirror was taken off of his truck, right? And he's like, I don't know where the fuck that mirror could be. I don't know where it could be. And sure enough, he goes over there to drop some shit off of the dumpster, and it's sitting perfectly on the top of all the trash in the middle, perfectly there. Like somebody just took it. But here's the thing, though, is why would somebody just take him? Like, that's not something you do. You don't just take somebody's mirror and just put it in the trash. Like, what the fuck is that going to do? You know what I mean? And especially not if you're, why would you not take the other mirror? You know what I mean? Yeah. And he told me about some other stuff, but I can't remember it offhand what he said. But, you know, just shit like that.
Interesting, man.
So I love those little coincidences where you're like, wait a minute, hold on. Did you have that shit happen in the same spot? It's just, it's a weird thing.
Yeah. And it validates all the experiences. Like, if people are experiencing the same stuff without being connected, it's so interesting, man. Interesting stuff, brother. This world is crazy, and I love it. Look,
it's a freaky world.
It is a freaky world. I love that, man. Awesome stuff, man.
That's like, I know another thing I was going to tell you about too is that there's one time I was over in this part of our town that's a lot more cornfields, right? All cornfields all around, right? And my cousin, this little motherfucker, was like, yeah, there's this abandoned house in the middle of the cornfield. We should go there. And I'm with my girl at the time, and I'm like, I don't know. Sounds a little sketchy, you know what I mean? And he's like, no, let's go. Fuck it. What's the worst that's going to happen? Right? And it's like one of those horror movies where I'm like, I'm the only black guy in this group, and I know how that shit goes down in horror movies. Come on now. Look, I am not trying to be the first person to die. So, but, like a dumb horror movie character, I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's go. So
Let's
we
go.
right? And at this time, right, it's like this time of the year. So the corn's high. Corn's above your head, probably about 2 foot above your head, right? We're walking through, you can't see shit. You just got to pray you're going in the right direction. So we get there, and sure enough, you look, and it's some big ass old farmhouse that's abandoned as shit. And you look over to the right, and there's a barn that's there, big ass pole barn, right? And we walk up to the barn, and first off, I get there, like I told you before, I can feel shit. You know what I mean? And it just felt off as fuck. Just that weird feeling of like, I don't know about this one, guys. And we go up to this barn, and I see this giant hole in the side of the barn, like where it looked like something reached up and just ripped out the fucking, the side paneling on the barn. Okay. And immediately I started getting that feeling of like, this is a bad fucking idea. You need to get the fuck out of here right now. Like, leave. Okay. And I've been in the woods long enough to know when you get that feeling, it's time to go. Like, fuck everything else. You need to go. Well, everybody's starting to get ready to crawl through that hole to go in there. I'm like, y'all shouldn't do that. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, like, come on, please don't just come. Let's go. Let's go. Come on. Because all I'm thinking in my head is, like, I don't know what the fuck is on the inside of there, but it doesn't feel good. Okay. And I'm getting that vibe of leave the fucking area now. Like, leave or else type deal. Right. And I'm like, we got to go, guys. And my girl at the time, she's like, come on, let's just go in there. And I'm like, nah, especially not you. Because if you go in there, I got to go in there.
You got to go, man.
And, and I'm not going in there. So we end up leaving. And then get this, on the way back, we get lost in the corn. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So we're sitting there and we're like, we've been walking for 5 minutes. We don't know where the cars are. So at this point, I'm like in my head, like trying to piece this together, like, oh my gosh, you didn't get your black ass into this shit, did you? I know you didn't do this. Look, we got a profile to fit, and we're fucking it up right now. So I'm like freaking out. I'm worried about my girl more than I am me. I'm like, I just got to get her out of the situation. Like, we got to deal with this shit now. So I can't remember if it was me or my cousin that came up with the idea to start hitting our car alarms. So we're sitting there clicking it. You hear that? You look over. Okay, we're heading the right direction. You keep clicking until you get closer and closer. And then we finally got to our cars and left. I didn't think about this until many months after we found that hole in there. I remember hearing stories about Sasquatch going into abandoned barns and shit and breaking out the sides and basically using them as a nest area.
Yeah.
And that same feeling that I got at that barn is the same feeling I've had many a times whenever something in the woods just tells you to get the fuck out. Like, don't look back, go. You're not welcome, right? Same feeling.
Interesting, man.
Yeah.
I want to know what was in there, though.
I did too. And that's the thing. And it's still there. That barn's still over there.
Yeah.
Honestly, one of these days I might go out.
You're right, though. When your gut tells you not to do something, I think you've got to listen to it. I think that's 100% right, man. Because it's
instincts.
It's instincts. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Your gut's telling you should listen.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have gone in there either, man.
Hell no. Especially, look, let me put it this way. You ever had somebody stand like directly behind you and just look at you, right? It was that feeling. And like that feeling at the same time of like, you ever been about to get into a fight and you can feel that like adrenaline dump of like, holy shit, we're about to get into the thick of it.
Yeah.
It was that plus like that staring feeling. And just like the constant thought of you need to get the fuck out of here. You need to leave like now. Like you don't come back. You're not welcome here. Like that feeling, all of those feelings combined.
Yeah,
So,
man.
and I was the only one that felt that shit too, which doesn't surprise me because everybody I was with, they're not outdoorsmen. They're not really like in tune with that side of, you know, their mind. So,
Yeah.
no, I got that feeling in me. I'm glad everybody listened to me because who knows what would have happened if my little cousin would have went in there or some shit. And with his ass too, I'd have to go in there and drag his ass out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thankfully, nobody went in there.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, you don't want to go into a situation where there could possibly be a sleeping Sasquatch. You don't know what they're going to do. I mean,
Oh
if,
hell
if, if
no!
that is the case, you know.
No, I'm not. Look, I'm not about to be down with that shit.
No.
Nope. Because here's my thing. I feel like what would happen is I'd grab my cousin's ass because he'd be sitting there just looking at it.
Yeah.
And I'd look over at it, and that son bitch would look straight at me and straight at him and be like, what the fuck are you guys doing in here? And at that
Yeah.
point, I'm just booking it. I don't give a shit what direction I'm going. I'm hauling ass out of there. I'm grabbing my cousin because the girl, she could have gotten left. I don't care. We're leaving.
Cornfields are quite scary. I think they're in all the horror movies. You've
Oh
got
yeah.
the alien connection with the cornfields. So there's something quite
Look.
freaky about that anyway.
Oh yeah, nah. Look, real talk. You ever gotten lost in a cornfield before?
No, I don't think so. I've been lost in the forest before,
Okay.
and that's
Picture that.
freaky.
Picture that shit, but where you can't see anything at all besides corn in front of your face.
Oh man, yeah,
Like
yeah,
where you
that's
can't even look, you can't identify anything.
yeah,
Because in the woods, in the forest, you can sit there and be like, okay, I swear I passed that rock before, or
yeah,
that tree looks familiar, or I can hear running water. In a cornfield, all you're thinking is like, all you see is this all
yeah,
over
man,
in front of
yeah,
you. And you're
yeah,
trying to sit there and you want to look up and out, but you can't because the corn's 2 foot above your head.
yeah, man. I would panic. There's no
Oh
doubt.
yeah, you definitely start to freak the fuck out.
Yeah,
I'll tell you
man,
that right
for
now.
sure. I don't know. I'd just be running in one direction until I hit
Yeah.
the end. But
Well, and
yeah,
here's the
man.
other thing that a lot of people don't know about too is that whenever people talk about going in circles whenever they get lost, that's a real thing.
Yeah.
And you know what causes it? You usually go in the circle towards your dominant foot. So like if you're right footed, you're gonna go in one giant right circle, right? Because your foot automatically starts heading in this direction like that because
Okay.
it's your more powerful leg, right? So that's gonna be your lead. So if you're lost, your body's literally just gonna keep on going like this in circles around. And same thing if you're left footed, you're gonna keep on going around in left circles.
Interesting.
And usually, like people that have been in the woods long enough, they tend to learn after a while. Which it takes a lot of getting used to doing a lot of learning to teach yourself. Okay, keep your feet straight because if you watch whenever people walk, they usually sit there and walk like duck footed, where one foot is usually out towards the right or the left.
Yeah.
But people that are in the woods or that hike a lot or stuff like that, you'll notice their feet are straight ahead at all times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like just like that. Whenever you have other people that kind of like walk like this. So
Yeah, man. It reminds me of when I was a kid. This is not paranormal, but I used to go to like a bouncy castle fair sort of thing, which had
mm-hmm.
loads of different bouncy castles, and one of them was like a maze it was like tunnels, like it was massive, and you'd go in it and you'd just be walking around tunnels, but it all looked the same. And I remember getting lost in it as a kid, and it freaked me out. Like I just remember running around these tunnels, and I was lost, and it was that feeling you gave me, that feeling when you said about, you know, you don't know what to do. You're lost. You're
Yep.
like, and it's a panic that hits you. It's a horrible feeling to get that,
Well,
and you just
and
took
that's
me
the
back to
thing.
that.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like in the woods, you get lost in the woods. I can sit down, right? I'm like, okay, what do I know right now? I sit there and I look, I listen, I smell, and I taste the air, right? And you start slowly using your senses like that. You calm down, take a breath. You know, okay, if I do have to stay out here overnight, I know the skills that I have, and I know I'll be good. I know I can create a fire. I know I can create a shelter. I know I have a weapon to defend myself. I'm going to be good. You know what I mean? Once morning comes, I can leave. You know, it's that mindset in the woods is easy to find. In a cornfield that's 150, 250 acres, even 1,000 acres in some plots, right? You might be walking for days. And even then, some of those places, you don't get cell reception for shit,
Yeah.
right? So you could be sitting in there trying to call somebody and everything, and you're not going to be able to call shit. You're just be sitting there wandering.
Yeah,
Fuck that.
man. It's a scary thought. It actually happened to me. It's happened to me a couple of times where I've been lost in the forest. It actually happened to me a few weeks back. I was with the kids, so all three of my kids and my dog, and one of my kids' friends was there as well. So there was four kids and my dog. And I walk in this forest all the time. I feel like I know it pretty well.
Yeah.
And we've gone on this path, and it got to a point the kids were moaning they wanted a drink, and I was like, we're gonna be out soon, don't worry. And it got to a point I was like, we're lost. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know where I am right now. I don't want to freak out because I've got four kids with me and a dog. I've got to stay cool. And I started panicking a little bit. I started thinking, I'm lost right now. I mean, eventually I did find my way out, thankfully. But it's so easy done, man. Like, especially for someone like me, I'm not like I'm always out in the outdoors, but I'm not like yourself, where I'm like you know, uh, a professional outdoorsman. I'm
And
not.
that's, well, and that's the thing is like, even professional outdoorsmen get lost. You know what I mean? Like a perfect example of that is the missing 411,
Yeah,
cases.
yeah,
How many of them you think sat there and went out in the woods? Way more than you or me ever do. You know what I mean? That are out there that have been hunting the same area for 50 years, right? That just disappeared.
yeah,
You know
man.
what I mean?
Yeah,
And that's the big thing. That's why I always tell people, one, try to go in the woods with other people. Please try. Don't just go out on your own unless you know what the fuck you're doing. Because the last thing you want to do is sit there, go out and get lost. And the next thing you know, you're trying to figure out, you're like, oh, fuck.
yeah.
Like, I'm lost.
And
Nobody
then
knows where I'm
and
at.
then the panic sinks in, and then that's
Yeah,
when you're in trouble.
exactly. And that's the thing too, is whenever you go out in the woods, let people know you're going. Give people a time. Be like, hey, I even told my mom today, I went out for a hike today, like I told you. I told her, I said, listen, if I'm not back in 2 hours, something probably happened. And you need to be a little concerned. Don't freak out and think I'm dead. But just know that you should try to call me. And if I don't answer, call somebody else that can try to come out there and find me. I'm going to be over at XYZ. This is when I should be back. Even something as simple as that. Be like, I'm wearing this. Tell people I'm wearing this.
Yeah.
Like simple things that can help you immensely in the case if you did get lost.
Do you think it's like one of those things they say you're most likely to have a car crash outside your house? Apparently, there's someone's worked that out, but you're so used to driving that road,
Yeah.
that's where you're likely to have a crash, because you take your head out of the game basically, and you think you're home, then you have a crash. That's what they
And
say.
and that's the thing. It's the same shit with the woods. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been in the woods and you start to get too comfortable. You get complacent. You know what I mean? And then once that happens, you're like, I need to get back in my game. I need to sit here and think about this truly before I end up getting lost or I end up getting hurt. You know, I've fallen down, hills and shit, and I've tripped over rocks and whatnot. I really fucked myself up out in the woods. And you sit there and you're kind of like, well, shit, why did this happen? Because you got complacent, because you sat there and you didn't check the rock before you decided to step. You didn't sit there and put a little bit of pressure on it to see if it would move. Or you didn't check that branch or that log that you decided to walk across before you walked across it. Because guess what? Well, I've done this so many times before. Yeah, I bet you have. Well, guess what? How many people sit there and they go to work every day? Go to work every day, do the same shit every day and still end up dying at work.
Yeah, man.
especially in the fields that I'm in with trade crafts and whatnot, you know, and that's the reality of that. Anything
Yeah.
can happen at any time, so it's best to be prepared for that bad shit to happen. Which is, like I said, that's why I carry a gun, you know,
Yeah, man.
because you never know.
Yeah. Fail to prepare. I've marked that up. Fail to prepare. Prepare to fail.
Exactly, right?
There you go. That's not my
Well,
quote. I can't take that one.
it's like the classic. I'd rather have it not need it than need it and not have it.
Yeah. Yeah, for
You know,
sure, man.
because you want to be in a situation where you're sitting there, you got your family with you, and like I remember there was one time where I'm my little brother and I got chased out of that same town. Right, I have my little brother in the car with me, and all I'm thinking the whole time is like, once I turn 18, I'm getting a fucking gun. I'm tired of this shit, right? Because if I had a gun, especially the amount of training that I have nowadays, I know I can outshoot just about anybody in a combat setting. So if somebody is sitting there and they're coming at me aggressively, first thing I would do is if I'm getting tailed, yank the car over to the ditch, and I'm gonna sit there and stop as hard as I can. I'm gonna set my seat down all the way. I'm gonna lean back and look out the rearview window and start firing into the other car. Just like that. You know what I mean? And real talk, there's honestly times I've definitely trained for that. I'll just be sitting in the driveway and you sit there and undo the seatbelt as fast as you can, take the gun while it's empty, and you lean your seat down and just look out the back window. You know what I mean? Or if
Yeah.
somebody's coming at you, put your hands on the steering wheel, just like that. And then you could look down the sights. You can still turn and everything. Even then, I can still do this. I can hold that and have ready and start aiming if I need to. But whenever I was with my little brother and that happened, I mean, I couldn't tell you how much. Because, look, I could give a shit what happens to me. Like, don't get me wrong, I still care what happens to me. But I'm more concerned about my little brother,
Yeah.
because I don't know what the fuck they're going to do to him after they get through me. Now, granted, at the time I had a tomahawk, so if they would have come up to that window, it would have been, chopping season. So, but I would hate to think about what would happen in that situation, which is why now, you know, anytime I'm out and about with family, anytime I'm anywhere, like if anybody sees me in public and I'm not at work, I have a gun on me. I'm licensed to carry. I, have all of my certifications and everything. I'm cooling. Don't don't do anything, please.
Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure. And I don't blame you. I can't believe that there's still places. It baffles me that there's places like that still now. I
It's a
find it.
fucked up world.
It is, man. That really
It,
is.
it's a corrupt look. But here's the thing. Like I said, though, it's a beautiful tragedy. Because if there wasn't hate, there couldn't be love.
Yeah.
Honestly, if there wasn't hate in this world, there could not be love because everybody would just be like, "Oh, well, I love you." Well, what does love mean at that point? It's the same as there can't be good without evil.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So you can't even be mad. Like, yeah, I could be upset. Yeah, it really bothered me, and it still hurts me to this day that somebody would have that type of feeling against me just because of the color of my skin. But I can't sit there and be like, "Oh, whoa, you know, fuck that guy because he sat there and thought this about me." Because who knows? Maybe his dad got beat up by a group of African Americans, and at that point, he's like, you know what? Every time that I see one, I'm gonna make him feel the same way that I did. Whenever I watched it happen to my dad. Who knows? That could be the
Yeah, man.
case.
Yeah.
But is it excusable? No. But is it understandable? Somewhat. Because you're sitting there, it's a fear.
Yeah.
And that's where that fear of the unknown comes in too.
Yeah, man.
So
You're a good man, brother. That's for sure.
I appreciate that, man.
You're a great man.
You have a beautiful heart too. Like I told you before, you have an unbelievable soul, and people are very, very lucky to have you in their life.
Oh,
And for
man.
anybody that doesn't know, old Tommy boy here, he has a few, blog channels, and he also has Instagrams with his lovely family. Very beautiful family. So go hit him up on those
Ah,
platforms.
thank you, man.
Bottom.
Appreciate that,
Look,
brother.
I
Thank you
never
very
thought I'd
much.
shout somebody out on their own podcast.
I appreciate that, man. I love that.
Hey, but look,
But-
you know, but that's the thing though, is that, you know, you have a beautiful heart, like truly. You know what I mean? And I can tell you're a very good family man. You take good care of your family and you really love them. So no, and you're a
thank you,
good
man.
person.
I appreciate that, brother. You're a good person.
Yeah, of course.
And you've got a great beard as well.
Like I said, man, yours is better, bro. Yours is better.
No, man. Listen, we're both part of the beard gang. The beard gang is special.
Hey, look, it is what it is, man. Not everybody can hang with it.
No, they can't all do it. Aaron, this has been absolutely awesome again, man. Thank you so much for coming back on the show. And you're welcome back on any time. This is not the last time we're gonna record together.
Oh,
man.
no. Look,
For
we got lots more stories to tell, brother.
100%, man. I love it. Thank you so much, man. Can you tell the audience where they can find you?
So I'm gonna be having a podcast coming out soon. I know I talked about in the last one, just had a lot of family stuff come up, so it kind of got delayed. But it's gonna be coming out soon. You can find me on Instagram at the Mysterious Outdoors Podcast. And then you can find me on TikTok at the Mysterious Outdoors. And you can find the link tree on my Instagram. You'll be able to find all my links and everything.
Awesome, man. And as always, I will share all your links in the show description so people can find you right now. Hit him up if you're not already and follow, man. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you, man. You're a legend. And I look forward to recording with you again.
Hey, much appreciated, brother. And thank you for having me as always. Lovely soul right here, really, truly.
Thank you, man. Have a great night, and I'll speak to you soon, brother.
Talk to you soon, brother.